Welcome to the fifth film in our Construction Drawings series. In it, we discuss how to add dimensions and text blocks to a construction drawing. Dimensions fall into different categories. Design drawings are dominated by the dimensions of negative spaces, such as the individual rooms within a building or the openings between these rooms, for example. In construction drawings, the dimensions of positive spaces, that is, individual components, are more important because these are measurements that builders need to know. The same is true of openings. The builders must know where and how big to make them. The next film provides more detail on the various types of dimension. But how are these different dimension types indicated? Figures 5 and 6 in German Standard DIN 1356-1 provide help here by defining some technical terms. The dimension value gives the measurement of an individual component. A dimension line provides a reference for the dimension number, while an auxiliary dimension line marks the start and end of the dimension line. A dimension line limit shows the point at which dimension line and auxiliary dimension line intersect, and thus improves readability. DIN 1356-1 shows two ways of representing the dimension line limit. We recommend using the short diagonal line shown on the right-hand side here, as it has become the established symbol. The sequence of dimension values along a dimension line is known as a dimension chain. Values are grouped together in this way in order to link different components to one another and to keep the plan as legible as possible. The important thing is to keep both dimension chains and individual dimension values as close as possible to the component to which they refer. The aim is to ensure that the builder can locate the measurements for the component they are working on quickly and easily. When positioning dimensions, it can be helpful to imagine where the builder would be in relation to the component. Ideally, you should position the dimension exactly where they would be standing. Here, you can see concrete workers at work on a building site. The plan is spread out on the scaffolding immediately in front of the point at which they are working. Construction drawings contain lots of dimensions and dimension chains. To keep the dimension chains on your drawing tidy, you should sketch out the dimension chains you will need and where you might want to place them on a separate sheet of paper before adding them to your drawing. Once you have all the different dimension chains you need and have positioned them in an orderly manner, then you can inscribe them on your drawing. There's one further small but important point to bear in mind. DIN 1356-1 specifies three different ways of representing units of measure. We recommend using the second option proposed in Table 3. This means indicating dimensions greater than or equal to 1 meter with a decimal point. Dimensions of less than a meter are given in centimeters as whole numbers. Millimeters are indicated in superscript. Any text that needs to appear in construction drawings should be placed in text blocks so that different texts are clearly separated. Once again, to avoid confusion, the information should be placed as close as possible to the component to which it refers. Where this is not possible, a text block should be linked to the relevant component by means of a leader line. Summary. Different types of dimension are shown differently on drawings using dimension values, dimension lines, auxiliary dimension lines, and dimension line limits. A sequence of dimensions on a dimension line is called a dimension chain. Dimensions and dimension chains are always placed as close as possible to the component to which they refer. Why not take a look at the next film in our Construction Drawings series? It offers some recommended reading on the topic of structural design.